Welcome to Contested Territory. Now, this event has been out for roughly just over a week now, and so I thought I'd give my thoughts, ideas, pros, cons, everything that is this game mode essentially in a nice little bundle for new players to understand and not have to read this. Because it's very straightforward and you can just sort of visually show it better than you can read all of that. Anyway. So, to start things off, let's just have a look at the map and get into the nitty-gritty. Right. Contested Territory is a 6-team free-for-all. These teams can be made up of 15 people each. Obviously, not every team has 15 people, and, well, to be fair, I am a streamer slash YouTuber, so I've managed to recruit quite a few people to my team. Anyway, that's not the point. Just putting it out that that's why the leaderboard looks this way. Anyway. So essentially, each team is trying to fight to control these tiles. You all start off at one of the corner pieces of this lovely hexagon, and you take other hexagons that lead towards the middle. You can even zoom in, which is a nice little feature. Alright, so by taking these tiles, all you need to do is an adjacent tile to whichever color you are. For example, I'm blue, so I can take the adjacent tile to my home tile, as well as every other tile that or my team has taken previously. So I can take anything that's adjacent to any blue tiles, but I cannot take anything beyond that. I can merely look at them. Anyway, to take over these tiles, you are given a specific challenge. Either a least tiers, a least cash, a boss fight, or a time attack, which I personally hate. Time attacks can... Anyway. I hate races, that's why I don't like time attacks. So essentially, every one of these game modes has a specific way to either beat them faster, or beat them with a lower score than your opponent. And that is the idea. Once you've set a score, for example, this says uncaptured, if you play it, it says no score set, but once you play it and set a score, that score will then remain as your team's score, and other players will have to beat that set score in order to take it away from you. Now, in order to take tiles, you will need tickets. You get 4 tickets every day. Obviously, every 24 hours they will refresh if you've used them all. If you haven't used them all, they get passed on to other people the following day in your team in order to take full advantage of it and to prevent AFK people from absolutely ruining your time. So, we've also got these relic and banner tiles. Banner tiles are worth a lot more points, as you can see. This will give you 40 CT points and 14 trophies, whereas a regular level will only give you 10 CP points and 7 trophies. Relic tiles are worth a little bit more than your average tile, but not more than the banners. As you can see, this is a relic tile here. It will give you 20 CT points and 25 trophies. So more trophies, but less CT points, which I've actually only just noticed right now. Huh, that's interesting. So if you've got, let's actually have a look at that. Do we have the, no. Okay, there's no uncaptured banner tiles within our area, which is good. Wait, no, there is one. So this is worth 14 trophies and 40 CT points, so more CT points, and this is worth a lot more trophies, but a lot less CT points. Okay, so there you go. If you're looking for trophies, go for the uncaptured relic tiles. If you're looking for CT points for your team score overall, and to get the lovely rewards on the leaderboards list, which is essentially this, and the rewards are... We'll talk about the rewards later. But that's essentially what everything is all about and what everything is for. Tiles, once you've captured them, are held for 24 hours. Unless, of course, unless, of course, an enemy takes the tile before that 24 hours is up. But if you manage to successfully hold it for 24 hours, the tile returns to being in a neutral state again, much like all these other ones, the sort of uncaptured state. So anyone can attack that tile once it's become neutral again, and there will be no score for them to beat, so it'll be very easy. The score, however, it degrades over time. So for example, if you've beaten a least tiers and it was beaten 12 hours ago, your score was probably not 30, You probably didn't need to get 30 upgrades to beat rounds 1 to 47 on logs, but your score will degrade over time. I don't know how often it degrades. I think it's maybe every 2 hours or something. But we'll talk about that in a bit more detail later as well. We're just getting through the basics for now. But yes, the score will degrade over time, so that, you know, perhaps if the enemy players aren't as strong as you, or if there's one team that's just dominating everyone, their tiles will weaken over time so that other people get a chance to recapture them. I don't have a problem with that. That is beautiful. I love that. And then we'll get into some leaderboards and rewards. So we'll get into the pros and cons a bit later, but I'll just show you now that there are global teams. By the way, you can only see this leaderboard if you are in the top 100 of the global teams. I don't know why that's the case. That's kind of shitty, because that means you don't know if you're close to the top 100 or not. But essentially, these are the top 100 teams at the moment. I can happily say that my team is in here at the moment, but we have fallen off a bit. We were a little bit higher up. Anyway. So these are the top 100 teams, and the rewards for this are insane. So first place, every single person in the team will get a, what do you call it? A 5th tier, is it like legendary ranking or something? I don't know. You will get a 5th tier Insta-Monkey, and second and third place will get lower ones, and top 25 even lower, and top 100. You know, as you'd expect, it gets worse and worse as you go down. And then there's global players, which is interesting because, first of all, the top 25 all get the same reward. But technically, if you're going for global player and you're trying to be number 1, it's good if you have a team full of AFK people, because their tickets will slowly be funneled down into you. And while it will take a shitload of time and a lot of effort, you can just, you know, have an entire team of AFK people dominate solely by yourself if you are the best at the game, and you would easily secure a top 25 spot. And then we get on to the local side of things. This is your map itself. This is you and the 6 other teams you are versing. So everybody gets a reward. Admittedly, first place gets the best, and this is something I don't necessarily agree with, but players overall within the top 60, there are 90 players total in a single local match, will also get given individual rewards for being the most dominant player, etc. So that is roughly the idea of the teams and the free-for-all aspect of contested territory. You do also get the relic tiles, which is an interesting new part of the game mode. So if we go to the team store, essentially if you capture relic tiles, they will give you bonuses that are not considered monkey knowledge. And by the way, I forgot to mention this, but relic and banner tiles, all of them restrict monkey knowledge use. Every single one of them. No monkey knowledge. So that is something to keep in mind. But relics, on the other hand, can be used on every single tile, and some of them are incredibly overpowered. I think this one's my favorite, but having a look at any of these, all attacks can pop lead balloons. Your hero starts the game with 3 extra levels. So stacks with empowered heroes on regular tiles, so if you are allowed monkey knowledge, your hero starts at level 6, which is pretty damn good. Popping lead balloons with literally anyone. Put down a dart monkey, you can pop a lead balloon. Creates a mana shield that essentially has 50 more lives, so if you've already got the monkey knowledge on as well, you've got 75 lives in a mana shield. Flint tip darts sadly doesn't allow you to pop leads with sharp objects, but does allow sharp objects to leave a fire damage over time effect, which is beautiful. Rounding up, amazing, just more money overall. And as you can see, there's quite a few fun ones. I won't spoil them all because we don't have them all, but you get what I mean. So essentially the way this all works out is, as you can see, there's a voting system and an enabling system. You can only enable 4 per map, as of right now, if you've got 32.1 update. If you don't have that and you just have regular old version 32 of the game, you could enable all of these from this menu and go into every single game with 7. But they've very recently hotfixed that out, which is a shame. Also, you can spend some of your team trophies to get other event relics. I don't see a point in doing this, considering the relics in the game are already pretty damn OP on their own. If they swapped some of these out with like Alchemist Touch and Extra Empowered, I could see them being useful, but as of right now, it just gives you a tech pot. ability cooldowns are slightly lower. Do more damage to fortified balloons. I mean, that one's somewhat useful, but not necessary. And as you can see, this one's right here. And I have it for free. And I can just enable it. So why would I... Anyway. It's an interesting system. But essentially, if you get a bunch of relics, your team can vote to keep the top 7 voted items, or the top 7 voted relics in the pool. So when you go to select, as you can see, Moab Mine is outside of this top little row right here, but as you go to select your relics, Moab Mine does not appear here. So essentially, you vote on the best relics that you all think are necessary or are good enough to have for pretty much any map, and then you can choose from those relics when you get to the tile select screen. So that's the relics. And finally, the last little bit is the team flare. So this is where you spend your trophies on cute little adorable things that don't actually change gameplay or matter in the slightest. So, you know, if you do run out of flare items to get because you're just so pleased with the ones you've already got, then I could see spending on these being somewhat useful, but at the same time you're just going to be winning more trophies back, and then if you don't have another use for them, you're just pouring them back into the event relics. So I feel like trophies could be improved slightly, but overall you can use this to purchase water slot, island slot, and air slots for your adorable little island. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's essentially this. Your cute little island. So you've got a little land slot, you've got 3 little land slots, you've got a water slot right here, and presumably you can have an air slot, which is going to be flying around your little island. But right now, because it's the first time in this event, nobody's got anything, so everyone looks boring and plain. But maybe at the next CT event, then we'll all look very fun and spicy, and things will be interesting and different. So, I think that is just about everything to explain. Obviously on the team side of things, you get to see your entire team. You get to see messages of who's captured what and what time ago. You sadly aren't able to see the replay of that. Despite it looking like you can, this will just take you to the tile that was captured. But overall, it's a nice little system. There's no messaging. Despite it saying messages, you can't message your teammates, which I think is a bit of a flaw at the moment, but we'll see. And also your roster, you can have a look at everybody on your team, you can promote them, or you can just outright transfer team ownership. I hope it's not with a single click of the button. I hope there's a confirmation screen, because that could get confusing. Be like, oh yeah, promote, press the wrong one. So, and then of course you've got your requests for people to join your team. And team code at the top right. We've already got a full team, so don't attempt to use that. Now, let's get into the pros and cons of this game mode, because there are quite a few pros and quite a few cons, at least for me. Alright, starting off with the pros. By the way, I will just have a little bit of background gameplay so that number 1, I can focus on what I'm talking about, and number 2, you guys aren't bored shitless staring at a black screen. Anyway, the pros of Contested Territory. First of all, it's the first team-based game mode that isn't just 4-player co-op. Like, we've had 4-player co-op since the start of BTD6. I mean, I guess BMC and Battles have done their own little sort of co-ops, but yes, 4-player co-op first came into BTD6, and we've been pretty much stuck with that until right now. It's a team-based co-op game, which I absolutely love. You can have way more people join your team, although I must say, because it is a first time for larger teams, it will be difficult for the average player to suddenly find 14 friends to pair up with, unless, of course, you are, you know, quite a popular, well-known streamer or YouTuber, or you just happen to get really lucky and have a dope team name for which other people can find you with and really enjoy. But yes, so it will be difficult to form teams, but I think it's a great thing that we're actually getting different game modes entirely that sort of still have the same base, but mix things up on a more complicated, higher level. Anyway, next pro, not crazily difficult. Now, there are some tiles in the game that are obviously a bit more spicy than others. You know, you've got your relics and your banner tiles, both of them immediately restrict monkey knowledge. However, you also have the relics on their own. So if you get a couple of relics, every other tile is so much easier. And not only that, but all the different game modes of least cash, least tiers, boss fights, time attack, all 4 of those are obviously quite specialized game modes, but they're all spread out equally. You know, banners and relics will equally be spread out between bosses, time attack, least cash, and least tiers. Bosses don't even show up on regular tiles at all. And there's a nice spread out of everything. If you want to take on a relic, have a look at it. Oh, it's a boss fight. Oh, I'm not too sure about that. Have a look at a different relic instead. Oh, that's not a boss fight. That's a least tiers. I can manage that. I'll get that one. It also allows for your team to organize. If you have some sort of Discord to connect with and chat with your team, because it's not currently in the game, then you can organize it. Say, hey, I am great at boss fights, I love least tiers, I love least cash, but time attacks can go suck a brick. I will do anything that's not those. And then maybe someone else will be like, oh, I'm okay with time attacks, I can complete them fairly quickly, 5 minutes or less most of the time, so I'll take those on. And it's a great way to sort of spread out the tasks and avoid gatekeeping certain relics and banners to just being bosses and time attacks only, because the other 2 are just playing the game normally, just a little bit on the stingy side. Anyway, love that. There's something for everyone. It's beautiful. Okay, relics. Relics as in general, relics are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. They're adding in a new element to make things a little spicy. You know, it gives you another incentive outside of just going for pure points. And on top of that, they add insanely strong benefits for you to make some of the harder levels perhaps a little bit easier. For example, the one I referenced earlier, Alchemical Touch or Alchemist's Touch or whatever, allows every single attack to pop lead balloons. I can't tell you how many times I've almost done a least tiers or least cash with just Etienne, thanks to that ability, thanks to that relic. Because Etienne on his own can't really pop leads all that early on, but if you get that relic, you give Etienne, you pick Etienne as your hero. Certain maps you aren't allowed to choose your hero, but if you can choose your hero, I would highly suggest Etienne if you've got the Alchemist Touch, because he can now pop leads at, what, level 1? And at level 8, he can give camo detection to everyone. So all your problems are immediately solved if you just place Etienne. That's why I love relics mainly. But yeah, they do also add incredibly unique buffs to the game and make it so that if you are doing well as a team, or at the very least, if all teams are equally doing well, if you can quickly snatch up a few good relics, you will absolutely have the upper hand, regardless of your opponent's strength. Because if you've got a really dope-ass relic, it doesn't matter how strong the opposing team is. Your monkeys that you place on that map will be stronger than theirs. So you should, in theory, be able to get a better time, even if you are technically the quote-unquote weaker team, which I think is beautiful. Also, I do love the team aspects within contested territory. First of all, you got the team flair, so showing off your fancy new trophy-earned decor when you're versing other teams, or just showing it off on your own island when you want to look at it and be like, ha, we afforded that, hell yeah. It's a team-based thing. You all contribute your trophies to the one item that you want. Or, you know, if someone in the team wants a certain item and someone else wants a different item, you can work on that cooperatively together, but still separate. It's beautiful. I love it. You're all coming together to do one big purchase to spice up your island and make it look fancy as hell. Admittedly, it is on the pricier side of things, but you can't forget that once the contested territory event is over, the rewards are given out for not only global teams, but global players, and local teams and local players. Which, if you're first place and your local teams, I'm pretty sure you get 1,000 trophies. So times that by 15 if you have a full team, you've just got yourself 15,000 trophies. You can instantly buy something in the Flair store for 15,000 trophies. Don't get me wrong, I personally think it's quite shit in comparison to some of the other things, like it's literally just like an icon, but you will earn trophies much faster at the end of the events because all the rewards get dished out. So I don't have any complaints about the necessarily high costs for some of these flare items because I think it's quite appropriate. And also, my last pro that I've got on here is that unused tickets get passed onwards. Thank you so much. Oh, whoever thought of this is a genius, an absolute legend. Because of some of the cons, if this wasn't a pro, this would be a terrible game mode, I'm telling you right now. This absolutely saves contested territory. So unused tickets getting passed onwards. So essentially, if you've got someone who's AFK on your team, who joined it, didn't really care for the game mode all that much, played it once maybe, and then decided, meh, not for me, I'll play the rest of BTD6's fine, lovely game modes. That's perfectly fine, but at the very least, instead of their AFK tickets withering away, you know, kind of like getting Thanos snapped out of existence, no. The following day, any tickets left over that people haven't used from the previous day will get spread out among the rest of the teammates the day after, which is phenomenal. Admittedly, it does make a lot more work for those teammates to then have to take on like 8 tickets instead of 4, or if it spreads out nicely among multiple people, maybe 2 extra games, which honestly isn't that bad, but yeah. It is so nice to see that AFK players aren't just instantly making your team less than top 100 material. I love that. Alright. Now that we've said our piece about the pros, let's talk about the cons. But not only, because I think just talking about cons is a waste of time. If you're literally just talking about why the game is shit, you aren't helping. You are a problem. So I've come up with cons, and I've also come up with a solution to each one. And I don't necessarily know if this can be implemented easily, but I think it will make the game a bit more of a popular place overall. So, let's talk about this. So cons, first of all, a big con that I've seen quite a lot over the Reddit as well as within my own team is that the game mode itself, the event, goes for quite a long time. Goes for 11 to 12 days roughly. Now, most events that we have go from like 3 to 4, maybe even 5 days, a week at most sort of thing. 11 to 12 days is a lot of time to have to dedicate to BTD6, especially when every single one of those days you have to be playing and participating to actually help your team. You know, when it comes to the Odyssey, when it comes to the boss fights, when it comes to the races, when it comes to any event at all that they've done in the past, aside from the collection event, which is long for a really good reason. However, I'll get to that. The bosses, the races, and the Odyssey. They're all quite lengthy events, not too long, but you can finish them in a day, and you don't have to come back to them. Bosses, you do the normal boss and the elite boss, you either do it ranked or not ranked, depending on how competitive you are. And then once you've got that done, you don't have to do it again. You can, if you feel like torturing yourself even more, but you don't have to. The races, on the other hand, you can do it multiple times, depending on how much monkey money you want to spend into it, or if you've got a bunch of free race passes, that's fine. You can go in there, get a good time, or maybe I can do a bit better than that, replay it, get a better time, I can appreciate that. But once again, you can just sort of set a time and then leave it, and that's fine. You'll still get rewards at the end of the event. And same again with the Odyssey. The Odyssey, you pick a difficulty, you fly through it once you get to the end and complete it, you get your nice little rewards, you don't have to replay it. In fact, you're even slightly discouraged from replaying it because the rewards aren't as great as they were. So, why is it that this game mode suddenly is too long, especially when we have like collection events which go for almost a month? Well, collection events are quite a voluntary thing, You don't have to play them. Playing them only benefits yourself, and it doesn't let anyone down if you don't play them. Maybe yourself if you're unable to get to a computer or a laptop or a tablet or something, but overall they go for a long time so that people have a long time to figure out that there's a collection event and get playing and get as much as they want, or as little as they want from it. Maybe people don't even care about the collection event at all and just skip by it because it doesn't matter all that much and it doesn't affect anything. However, with contested territory, 11 to 12 days, you're a part of a team. That is one of the best aspects of this game mode. And so having it go for 11 to 12 days means you have to be dedicated and on time and on point for 11 to 12 days, constantly playing BTD6. Now, some people can't fit that in their schedule, which I completely understand. And that's why I'm thinking if you just want to... If it's too much of a commitment for you, then overall, I do agree. 11 to 12 days of playing BTD6 straight is probably a little crazy. However, I will say this. Because as I'm talking right now, we are still in the first contested territory event right now. So it hasn't ended yet, but depending on how much time there is in between contested territory events, this may not actually be a problem. If there's 11 to 12 days of contested territory, but there's actually like a month or two in between the game modes, I think it's okay. I think it's alright. Because then you've given a long enough break period in between for people to be like, ooh, I'd really love to play contested territory again, that was fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. But if the next contested territory event starts a day after this one ends, I can guarantee numbers are going to dwindle and drop very quickly. Insanely quickly. Because this is such a massive dedication. So, for this one, I would recommend either, because I don't know what the sort of cooldown rate of this event is, I would recommend it be, you know, maybe a month or two. No, probably not 2 months. 2 months might be a bit much for people to be like, oh, we're not going to be able to play the new game mode for 2 months anymore. Maybe like a month, I would say. Once a month, open it up for like 11 to 12 days. That way you get like, you know, a week and a bit of contested territory, and then you get like 2 weeks off, and then a week and a bit of contested territory, then 2 weeks off. I think that would be quite appropriate. Or, on the other hand, you can make contested territory last maybe just a week. Just 7 days, or even less than that. You could probably get away with like 5 days, because that way it would be more of a actually, now that I think about it though, 5 days isn't a lot of time, and if you're not up to date on Ninja Kiwi's sort of social media platforms and release dates of things, then it would be very shitty for them to for you to entirely miss out on a full day, only to notice the next day and not have a lot of time to catch up. So I'd say around 7 days is more appropriate than like 11 to 12. Anyway, that's the first con. That's how I would personally solve it. The next problem is high dedication levels. This kind of ties into the last one. But you need high dedication levels, first of all, just to play the new game mode in general. But second of all, let's say on average, you've got a team of 15 players. And, you know, to make things fair, let's say a small percentage of those players are AFK. For example, 3. If 3 players are AFK, and they get 4 tickets a day, that means 12 tickets are being handed out to the non-AFK players extra every day. That's a high dedication level right there. So, I don't think people will be able... Like, people have not been positively responding to that. Like, yes, if you get more tickets, you can get a higher score, you can beat, you know, other people on the leaderboards, you can get higher up in the global players sort of leaderboards if you care about that. Yeah, sure, whatever. You're gonna burn out real quick. I can guarantee if people are at the top of the leaderboards in the global player leaderboards right now, I can almost guarantee they probably won't want to get back there in the next CT event if it's anytime soon. They will absolutely hate themselves for dedicating that much, and to be quite honest, the rewards aren't very much worth it anyway. The rewards are so typical of like races where it's like, oh, 1,000 monkey money and, you know, fancy little golden insta-monkey for just you, just one. Why would we give you more? That's enough for you. Anyway. But yeah, I think the dedication levels are a bit too high, and AFK people, are certainly not helping with that. This actually ties into a lot of my other cons for this, but there's an overarching theme here. But I think high dedication levels could be helped if there was an actual chat system within BTD6 itself. Now, of course, you would have to go about the whole censorship process and, you know, making sure no one's using any sort of racial slurs or sexist comments or things like that. So you'd have to put in some sort of monitoring or censoring system to an extent, because overall BTD6 is a child-friendly game. There's certainly no content in there that would scare a child away, so we have to consider the younger audience here. Admittedly, I feel like a lot of people that play BTD6 are probably older and, you know, teens and beyond, but still, we have to consider it's a family-friendly game, and we don't want little kids reading potentially harmful and rude messages in chat, but we also don't want to take it to the extreme that Microsoft is doing with Minecraft and Mojang. That's a little too far, but still, you need to find a right balance with that, and so I can understand why that may take a long time from Ninja Kiwi's end, but that would solve the dedication levels issue. Because you could actually communicate with your team, even if the only communication that ever happens is a Discord link, so that you can all jump into the same Discord and have a conversation there instead. You know, if there was some way to actually connect teams, especially teams that are made up from just quickly throw me into a random team. I don't care which one, I just want to play the game mode. It would be so useful if you could somehow connect with those teams through some sort of messaging system, whether that's Discord and you just have a link shared, or whether it's an actual messaging system within BTD6, which I think would be preferred. That way you could at the very least know who's online, chat with people and be like, hey, I'm planning on taking this tile, what do you think, blah blah blah. It'd be great for communication. It makes random teams much more viable in terms of taking on some of the harder, more coordinated teams. And overall, I think it would be a massive boon to the game. And yeah, overall, I feel like it could fix actually a few of these problems, but that's the main one for me. Alright, let's talk about tile degradation, because this has been a hot topic for quite a bit since the team has, the contested territories has come out. So 2 big problems. However, they can be fixed by just adjusting one of them. So, tile degradation, first of all, makes tiles too easy. If you think about it, if I play a least tiers game mode and I get a score of 4, aka I placed a hero and placed a 3-tiered tower, or a 2-tiered tower, and that managed to get me through the entire game, right? That's an impressive score. That's a very difficult score to beat, and probably, likewise, a difficult score to obtain, because you would have to use maybe a bit of micro, maybe a bit of good ability timing, you know? That's a very good score. 2 hours later, that score of 4 drops to 6, which means you can place a hero and get a 4th tier, or a 3rd tier. A 3rd tier. 3rd tier? Hold on, I need to think. Place the hero, place the tower, 4th tier. Right, you can now get a 4th tier. That instantly slaughters your score and throws it out of the window. 2 hours. You've held that tile for 2 hours. And now anyone can come along and be like, huh, 6, pathetic. Get out of here. You know? And the exact same thing will happen to them. If they manage to get a 4, bang, get out of here. 6, pathetic, weak, dunzo, get out, gone. But yes, so degradation makes tiles way too easy to retake, especially for least cash and least tiers. In fact, even least time or time attack, all 3 of these, it makes the tile that much harder to get. Boss fights, or that much easier to get. Boss fights, on the other hand, you know, you do need some skill to actually beat them in the first place. Admittedly, it's only the 1st or 2nd tier, entirely up to the tile itself, but they do take a bit of skill beforehand in terms of beating them. And even if the time does degrade, you still need to have the knowledge of how to beat the boss fights first before being able to take them on and actually beat a pre-ordained score. So, the problem here is the tile degradation is too quick and it makes the tiles too easy. So, it's a very simple solution. You have to nerf one of the two things. Either tile degradation makes tiles too easy, so you can make it, maybe nerf it slightly less, but keep the same time frame. So every 2 hours, maybe it only drops, like, for example, least tiers down by 1 tier. So, you know, if someone else is playing, they can now use an additional tier to what you used. And maybe if it was least cash, maybe it'll only drop down like maybe 2,000, because 2,000's roughly a fairly good price range for like a couple of upgrades here and there on the first and second tier, and it doesn't drastically change too much. If in 2 hours time you had a score of like, I don't know, 4,000, now there's a score of 6,000, which, you know, if you've believed that you've gotten a really good score, then maybe that doesn't change anything. Maybe your opponents are still baffled by how you got 4,000 in the first place. So, I think you could nerf it that way. Obviously, these are just examples. They may not be entirely balanced or accurate, but that's how I feel you could nerf the tile degradation itself, or keep it the way it is, but make it so that it degrades later. Don't make it that it degrades every 2 hours or whatever it is. Maybe double that time. Make it every like 4 hours. That way, if it's a banner tile, you can hold on to it for 4 hours worth of points before it gets taken away. Or even longer, I would recommend. Maybe like 5 hours would be pretty good. Because that way you're holding it for what, 1/5 of the time that it would usually take before it turns neutral anyway? So that's pretty good. And then if the degradation, you know, makes it much more viable by that point, that's fine. You know, you've held it for 5 hours, you've held it for 1/5 of the time that you would have had if it was just left alone completely, and there's, you know, 6 teams total, so 5 other teams are going to be fighting for that tile. So, I feel like that would fix the degradation system. You either make it so that it doesn't nerf it as badly, or you make it that it nerfs it less often. Anyway, this right here is a big con for me personally. And frankly, I don't know why it's in the game. You can easily fix this by removing it from the game mode entirely. It is possible to recapture tiles your teammates have already gotten. Why? Why is that a thing? There is literally no reason for that to be a thing. Yes, maybe someone on your team got a shit score, but why would you then spend an additional ticket to capture a tile you already have? This is a team-based thing. Even if you get an amazing score and it lasts so much longer than it would have lasted before, wouldn't that ticket be better used just holding off until an enemy takes that spot, and then you take it back and improve both the score and return it to your team, rather than trying to steal it from your teammate? And this leads me into quite a few other issues as well, because it is possible to take team tiles, and because there is a local player leaderboard. So I'm talking single contested territory game mode. There is 90 people maximum. This includes your team and the 5 teams you're versing. However, there is a player leaderboard which includes all 90 players, and for some reason, whoever's on top gets the best reward. Obviously it's not for the team, because that's what the local team rewards are for. But the local player rewards are meant to sort of distinguish the best player, or, you know, the most significant impactive player over all the teams. However, if it's possible to take tiles away from your teammates, then whoever's in number 1, if they're feeling greedy and mischievous and doesn't give a shit about anybody else except for themselves, then the number 1 player can just continually recapture tiles that the number 2 player has been getting, and then essentially stealing score from them. Why is this possible? Why is it possible to steal score from your teammates in a cooperative and team-based event? I do not know. I'm not even sure if Ninja Kiwi intended for this, but overall, this can easily be solved by making it so that you cannot recapture team tiles. Why is that a thing? I don't get it. It literally benefits no one except for the greedy people that want to be on the top of the leaderboards. when the event ends. So just take it out the game. You know, you just don't allow any sort of interaction with that tile. Just be like, oh, you've already got this. You can't, why would you take it again? No, why? No, don't do that. That's rude. And it also invites, you know, infighting and bullying. It's overall not a very pleasant issue. Which, yeah. Also, I don't know if it's currently in the game or not. I assume it might be. But if two people are taking the same tile, I think once the first person finishes that tile, the second person should probably get a notification in the middle of their game saying like, oh, somebody's already captured this tile, maybe you should, you know, stop. You know, because, unfortunate, but hey, at least we let you know now that the tile's been taken already, so you don't have to do it. You can back out, get your refunded ticket, and move somewhere else, right? Or, at the very least, if you both finish the game roughly at the same time, then one of you should still get the refunded ticket, and then whoever captured it first will obviously keep the tile. I don't know if that's fully in the game or not. I feel like some sort of measures are implemented, which is a great thing, but once again, this is just about taking team tiles. So I want to make sure I cover all my bases, including the basis of maybe you don't know that you're taking it or something. Right. And then the very last thing, which I only found out recently, but apparently, and this is a very big problem at the moment, you cannot kick people from the team until the event is over. Just let that sink in. Someone really wants to join your team. They're a fairly new player, but they really want to try out the contested territory event, so you feel like, oh, you know what? That's why we're all here. Sure, I'll add you into the team. You add them into the team. They play for a day. All of a sudden they're like, this ain't for me. I'm not going to play anymore. If they haven't played for like 6 days, yes, I will admit, you do get the tickets that they aren't using. This is the one reason why this game mode is still standing right now. You get the tickets that they aren't using. However, that's not the issue here. The issue is the good players that are continually playing every day now have to play even more and even harder to use those tickets to stay in the lead, to try and progress the team-based game, and at the very end of it, because you can't kick teammates until the event is over, guess what? That means if they join your team and do literally fuck all the entire time, not contributing whatsoever, literally just hanging out, staring at you guys going, woo, good job team, good job, they will still get a reward at the end of the event. And if you're the top team, they will get a decent reward at the end of the event, which I think is complete shit. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the rewards that you earn in CT are specifically team related, and so if you kick them afterwards, first of all, they won't be able to use those rewards on your team anymore, which, you know, I doubt they were planning on doing so in the first place if they were just going to sit there AFK the entire time anyway, but they're essentially just leeching. Absolutely leeching off of a team that's actually working hard and putting the effort in, which I think is a terrible thing. Now, this is an interesting one to fix, but I've come up with a solution because otherwise I wouldn't have brought it up. So, I think after 2 days of not taking a tile, considering that the event is currently going for like 12 days right now, this is considering that, not considering the potential 5 or 7 days that I suggested. Considering that it goes for 12 days, roughly, or 11, whichever it is, I would say apply an AFK label to people that haven't taken a tile for 2 days. Then, when you choose to kick someone, or rather, as it says, for the most part, pending kicking, which I presume means that at the end of the event, the kick will actually occur, because admittedly, it is a bit shitty if, for example, you're the team leader, you are the greediest motherfucker on the planet, You spent the entire time just like working with your team, smashing out relics, grabbing all the banners, getting all the points, destroying your teammates. You're the best team out there. You're the number one in both teams, players, global players, and the global teams as well. You're literally the best team ever. And then all of a sudden, the creator of the group just decides, it's like 30 minutes before the end of the event. Yeah, I think I'll just kick everyone. Kicks everyone, gets all the rewards for themselves. Greedy motherfucker. We can't have that. So, here's what I'm thinking. Because, very similar to the contributing to the flare and voting for which relics get used within the event, I think this should be a team-based thing. Obviously. So, I recommend that if you choose to kick someone, it should go as a vote to the rest of the team. The rest of the non-AFK team. Because that way, it seems fair. You know, because if 30% of the team's AFK, and the other 70% that's actually working their ass off isn't able to kick them because they're not reaching certain numbers of votes or whatever, that's bullshit. So, and admittedly this will take a lot of implementation, but if you choose to kick someone, it goes to a vote to the rest of the team that is not AFK. And I don't know exactly what percentage is fair, but I'm thinking like 70 to 80% of players agree that, you know, maybe 70 to 80% of the non-AFK players who are able to vote, by the way. I think if 70 to 80% agree that yes, they're dead weight, they should be kicked, they honestly aren't contributing, and we'd rather not get the extra tickets and get a teammate that'll actually use those tickets, then if 70-80% of the team agree, they get kicked right then and there. Right then and there. And I think that's good. You need a majority vote. You do. Because I think if it's just 50% or if it's entirely up to the team leader, it leads it to much more of a greedy nature. And while it still can be quite a greedy based game, even with 70 to 80%, not including AFK people, then even though it can be quite greedy, it's a lot more work. And to be honest, I feel like overall, despite the tickets being passed on, AFK people absolutely ruin the game event. You're meant to be working as a team, and you've literally got someone chained to you by the legs, and you're dragging them across the field. You're literally dragging them across the finish line. It's like a three-legged race, but your opponent, your teammate just dies. You know, they're literally just dead weight, but you have to finish the race. Otherwise, I don't know, for some reason you die as well. So, you're struggling, you're dragging teammates literally by the ankles or the collar of their shirt, whatever euphemism or metaphor you want to throw on it. And it's absolutely a shame that you can't get rid of them until the end of the event. They're like an actual parasite at that point. Anyway, I think that just about covers all my pros and cons. Don't get me wrong, there's more cons than pros, but it's the first time they've tried this event outside of like a little beta test with a group of very dedicated BTD6 players. So they probably wouldn't have picked up on that, considering, you know, they're fucking good at the game and they're likely to not be AFK when they are literally beta testing or alpha testing or whatever it is. So they might not have come across these problems. So overall, I would like to say in my sort of closing remarks here, Contested Territory is a great idea. It's an absolutely amazingly fun game mode. I've been loving it since day one. And of course, with everything that just gets released, there's gonna be some bugs and some kinks in the chain and all that to work out. But hey, I honestly think this can be an amazing game mode. I really do. I absolutely love Ninja Kiwi for putting it in. I absolutely adore them for thinking about putting this game mode in. They thought about it for ages now, and they've only now just implemented it, and it's brilliant. I love the idea. I can't wait to see what the next ones hold. I guarantee the maps will get harder, which I'm a little bit afraid for, to be honest, because Odysseys have gotten harder, races have gotten harder, bosses have gotten harder over time. So I do worry that CT events might not appeal to all players in the future, depending on how much difficult each individual tile gets. But, at least for right now, the state that the game is in, I love it. But of course there are some things to work on. Anyway, that is how I'm currently feeling about contested territory. And yes, I did write a few notes for this because I actually cared about this topic and I wanted to share my feelings with you guys. So, there you go. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to me ramble and rant like a crazed person. Please, if I've given out any sort of wrong information, or if I've fucked something up and got it wrong completely, who knows where I got that information from, please let me know. But overall, I feel like this can be an amazing game mode for everyone, if just a few things are changed. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.